Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan, creator of the SRTT Self-Care Club. Thank you for joining us today. You can find me on most social media platforms as SRTT Self-Care, but if you connect with me on Facebook, you can join in my Facebook group for live recordings. Today, I'm joined by Lisa Williams. We haven't yet framed what this conversation is going to be. We're just going to have a bit of a chat, and you're going to be sharing sort of some of your personal journey, your spiritual journey, and talking a little bit about the work that you do, but we'll see what else comes up as well. So thank you so much for joining me, Lisa.
Oh, thank you for having me. Really excited for this conversation. I love going with the flow. I really do.
I mean, I'm getting better at it. I do enjoy it, but I'm also my brain goes in so many different directions. It's interesting for me to see what comes up as well. And we've got so much in common. There's very similarities in the work that we do and the way that we like to work. So that's why I'm really excited to speak to you, so people can get to know you and the things that you do. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so personally, I'm a mum to a teenage daughter who's currently being home educated, or should I say loosely home educated at the moment. I'm married, I've got 2 dogs, we've got 3 lizards, we've got some fish. I mean, that's just standard introduction.
I didn't know about the lizards. Well, yeah, that's a new thing for me.
So that's me. I've been a dance and theatre school owner and teacher for 17 years. And I ended up closing it due to the pandemic and taken a completely different direction, complete detour in the opposite direction from being an in-person dance teacher working with children to being online as a spiritual mentor working with women. I mean, it couldn't be any more different. So
you say that, but I'm sure you just naturally did part of that with your dance work anyway, because that's dance in itself. It can be so empowering. It can be so healing. So it's quite clearly always been there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the dance journey came about because I didn't have a great upbringing. I was also diagnosed with dyslexia. I was a misfit right from the start in school. I was always bullied. I was always the outcast. And dance for me was a way to express all of those things when I couldn't, say them in spoken words. I couldn't write them down. So dance for me, I guess it was like a healing way of expressing who I was. And I wanted to create that as I got older for other children. I didn't want to be a bog standard dance school where we just did the same choreography and we did other people's steps and techniques. I wanted the children to create and how they felt that they wanted to move. So even though I had choreography and had ideas and inspiration, I always wanted the children to see what felt right to them and their bodies, because many of them are suppressed in school all day, being told to sit down and be quiet. So when they came to my classes, I wanted them to have that outlet. So I guess, it was very much a holistic healing vibe in my school.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about sort of your story that's got you to where you are now. So I know you've shared before that you've had mental health struggles.
Yeah. I mean, I had a very, very bad upbringing. So that was probably the start of it, the trauma. I was bullied all the way through primary school and high school, both mentally and physically. So that was already there. And then I threw myself into people pleasing, I think, within the dance school and all the work I did. I just wanted to make everyone happy. But I was on call 24/7 for everybody. And I didn't know what the word self-care meant, because for me, I was in that, what we call the masculine energy, the doing energy, taking action all of the time. I didn't sleep. I ate on the go. And I just burnt out. I just crashed one day. I just couldn't lift my head because I was, like I said, I was answering people around the clock. Even my daughter at the time when she was little, she wanted my attention, but it was always like, not now, I'm really busy, because I was answering emails and things like that. And I just burnt out. I crashed. And it got to the point where I was trying to hide it and show up as the smiley sort of Miss Lisa that everyone knew. And it got to the point where I just didn't want to be here anymore. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I've got a loving husband, a beautiful daughter, all of these things. But I was just like, no, I'm done.
It's exhausting though, isn't it? When you're in that space of like the doing and the that's driven by the people pleasing, which in turn is lack of boundaries and just forever trying to make everybody else happy and putting yourself completely at the bottom of the pile, it is exhausting. And there does come a point where it has to change.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what kind of made you realise that it needed to change and things needed to be different?
It was October 2017 that my husband said to me, you know, you need support. You need to go and speak to the GP, which I did. I said everything I felt that day. I cried, I sobbed. And I think for the very first time, I spoke the words out loud. So, you know, when you say those words, like, I don't want to be here anymore, although I said it in my head, I didn't actually say it out loud until that moment. He had offered me antidepressants, and I'll always say, full disclaimer, absolutely nothing wrong with taking medication for anything, but it just, something didn't feel right to me. I don't know why. It also felt like a bit of a release just saying the words out loud to a stranger. So I left the GP with no antidepressants, walking up the hill, crying my eyes out, and it was a really overcast day, and the light, you know, when the light kind of breaks from the clouds, it was a real spiritual moment of, you're here for a reason, don't give up, there's light. And it was about a week later that my daughter, she was 9 at the time, she wants to go to the museum for half term. And, you know, like, the gift shop's the best place for kids. You could take them anywhere, couldn't you? But the gift shop is the best place. And she was staring at all of these crystals, and she was like, Mummy, I really want these crystals. And I didn't know what a crystal was and what their meanings were, not a clue. And I had a nudge to pick up a rose quartz, which I've actually got with me on the desk, the rose quartz I picked up that day. And I got home and I started to research like crystals and healing properties, and I got addicted, but in a good way. And I started to do like meditation and affirmations and mantras and breath work. It just literally, it was like it opened the door to what else was possible, what else was out there, things that I'd never heard of or experienced or felt that I had time for. And I just went on this huge awakening, and it was just this beautiful experience. Having said that, there was a lot of unlearning to be had as well, a lot of unpacking. So it wasn't an easy process because I had to dig deeper to do inner work. There was lots of tears. I did some journaling. So I literally have done everything that I can possibly get my hands on that has anything to do with sort of holistic ways of healing. And every time I learn something, I'm like, I want to share that. I get so excited.
Yeah, because it makes such difference. First of all, I just want to apologise. I don't know if you can hear this, but my person next door is doing some kind of building work. So there's loads of noise happening in the background here, which is not great for me and my concentration. I'm hoping that it's not coming through on the podcast. If it is, there is little I can do about it. So I'm sorry. So I do apologise. But I want to go back to sort of what you said about antidepressants. And absolutely, yes. If it's something that you want to use and it's something that you feel that is useful, absolutely. There's been a time in my life that I've taken antidepressants, but what you say about it, and I'm trying to think how to word it, just taking antidepressants when you also need to do the work. If you'd have just continued to do all the people pleasing and all of that other stuff, it wouldn't have made, I believe, a big difference. I don't know, you might not agree. Because yes, the medication, absolutely, when you need it, but there's something in my belief, when we're in that state, when we get to that stage, often it is because we've ignored every part of our body saying, hey, this behavior isn't working for us, this place isn't healthy for us, these people aren't healthy for us, and we get to a stage of being in complete dis-ease of life just we need to make change. And that's what I'm hearing you say you did. And whether you'd taken the antidepressants or not, kind of, you know, it's a personal journey, like you say. It's people need to do what's right for them. But what you did was that crystal opened the door to ways in which to change the way you were living life, and bring in like the meditation and all of those other things in is what started to make the difference. And did you notice as you were doing the kind of healing work, because it is hard work when you're healing, because there's so much unlearning, and I think it can be kind of portrayed as it's like this really, really amazing positive thing, which it is, but there's some dark moments and some real kind of, people are unhealthy, you kind of you might have to let some of them go. If places are
Mm.
not healthy, you may have to not be in them anymore. There's
Yeah.
so much that comes with a healing journey. I don't know where I was going with my point. I got distracted. So yeah, it's like, have you noticed that you've shifted the way in which you do things, so that, like, people pleasing, we may still have those tendencies, but we're aware of them now. How have you noticed those changes happen for you on your journey?
What you pointed out there about being aware is awareness. So, I'm a recovered people pleaser, I believe. But then, having said that, sometimes you feel it creeping in, but you go, oh no, nah, that's not for
Yeah.
me anymore. So it is that awareness. And it's the same with mental health and depression and anxiety. It's not gone because I do the stuff, but I'm aware when I'm feeling a little bit, this is getting too much for me now. I'm going to take that time out. I'm going to nurture myself, however long that is. It could be 10 minutes, it could be a whole day. So it is that awareness for me, with anything that I'm going through, for sure.
Yeah, I think that makes a difference, doesn't it? Because I think maybe there can be this kind of idea that if you do the work, you do the meditation, and then everything's okay all of the time moving forward. But I like to use the analogy, like, you don't have one bath and you clean forever. Like, it is continued, and as you kind of get deeper understanding of yourself, there's other layers. So we go through this experience. Yes. So how has that kind of translated for you into your spiritual journey, and the way, to get to where you are now? Because anyone that's watching will see that it says Spiritual Fairy Witch as your name there, which I love. So what's helped you along that way?
Wow. Like I said, it's been a journey. One of the sort of enlightened moments for me personally was, I did a Reiki course, and my Reiki master gave me I think it was the third attunement. And I had an out-of-body experience, and I connected with my nan. And ever since, I've been able to sort of connect with spirit and connect with my nan. And it's opened doors of things that are beyond what we can physically see. And that gives me such great comfort, knowing that she's with me in the moments that I'm maybe having a wobble, or I'm feeling a little bit of a dark mood, should we say. That for me was, wow, there's so much to explore that we don't see with our physical eyes.
And was you open to that kind of experience, like, before you started with the crystals and all the other stuff? And I asked that because of my own kind of thoughts. Like, I think crystals and Reiki are a bit of like the gateway into the more kind of what we call the woo spectrum. So had you had an experience like that before you'd done your journey, would you have been open to it, or would you have dismissed it, do you think?
As a child, 100%. 100%. But I think as you go into your teens and adulthood, you block that off, because you just go along with what you should be doing, or society says you should be doing, because again, it's weird, right? It's weird to talk about those things. And again, it is that sort of misfit thing. Growing up, I always wanted to fit in. As I sort of approach my 40s now, I want to not fit in. I want to be the misfit. I do not want to be the norm. I'm happy to be the misfit. Whereas I went through such a time where you wanted to fit in, that you blocked out, I think, anything to do with those things.
I think, as you say, as you get into your 40s, I think as women sort of hit their 30s, we sort of have this kind of shift in energy and start to grow again and be curious and almost re-find the person we were before society told us that we shouldn't be interested in these things or share these experiences. Because I think it's difficult to share like spiritual experiences, especially with people who aren't open to it, because it can be seen as, are you sure you're not having a mental breakdown? Or, is this not just your imagination? And I said, well, I could be having a mental breakdown, but also this is actually happening. Like, the two things can coexist. So I think there's something quite beautiful when a woman sort of gets to that stage of becoming who they always were. And I know that's part of the work that you do as well. It's that working with, well, you explain it. You can explain it better than I do. Explain how you work with women now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm always very transparent and honest with anyone who comes into my communities, that it's a forever journey, and that I don't know all of the answers, and that I'm constantly learning and learning all of the time. And I don't show up pretending to know it all and not be who I am. And by doing that, I give permission, if you will, not that they need permission, they certainly don't, but I give permission to the women in my community to also show up as who they truly are.
Yeah.
And accepting them, because so many of them feel like me, that they've grown up feeling that they've had to block out who they truly are to fit in to the workplace, or whatever. So it's a safe space, really. I've just given women a community of a safe space to just show up completely as they are, and they'll be celebrated for it.
Yeah. And that's, I think, why one of the reasons I want to speak to you, because that really resonates for me, and that's sort of how I work with my community. I'm on my self-care journey as well. Like, I've been that person who's completely burnt out because I wasn't doing anything that I needed to do. And I don't know about you, but doing this as my job now means that that's my focus, and it really makes me be so mindful of what I'm doing and how I'm showing up for myself, and that showing up as I am authentically in that moment, and being able to give, like you say, it's about permission giving. That's part of the reason we do the podcast, so people can hear the stories and hear the experiences that people have had, and know that, like, wherever you are on your journey, there is a next step, and there is hope for that light coming through the clouds, and being able to know that there is purpose, and you can heal and move forward. And even though at times it can be dark and hard, like, to keep going and keep sort of searching for the people that, like, you can vibe with and be the weirdo that you are, because we're all a bit weird, we're just weird in different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So what else would you like to sort of share with people, what about sort of your journey, and where you've been, and kind of what's happening for you now?
Yeah, so like I said, we're always learning, and every time I learn something, I want to share it with my community, and things like that. And I'm currently in the process of writing a book, and one of the parts in the book says, take 111, here we go again, like about depression, because I've had a really sort of bad spout of late because of sort of ill health. And for me, it's like the whole industry is the whole fluffy spirituality. I want to break the ties of that, like what you were saying about, showing up that it's all airy fairy. It's actually not. That I've actually gone through such a bad couple of months, and again, I've shown my community that with my health. And it's, again, having that faith that, okay, I've been through worse, I can get through this again. But by me showing up and explaining those things to my communities, I'm opening doors for them to share their experiences as well, because I don't want spirituality to look or sound a certain way, or feel that they have to be meditating every day, and if they miss a day, oh my goodness, I'm not great at it. I've missed many a day when I haven't meditated for many reasons. And I think that's the thing, that people have this thing about spirituality because of that Instagram sort of perfect lifestyle where you have
rolling
to,
my eyes, yeah.
and it's not like that 90% of the time. Sometimes it is, but it's really, like the house is messy, or the dogs are barking, or I haven't got time or mental capacity to just sit there for 10 minutes. And other days I can sit there for hours and be really content in my space. And the same with the witch sort of side. Again, that we talk about following the energy of the moon, and I do. But if I miss a ritual, does that make me not a witch because I didn't burn some incense on that day? So again, I want to make sure that I'm breaking down the barriers, that what spirituality is, and open the doors for everybody. It's not an exclusive club. You don't have to dress or act a certain way. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. We're all open to these amazing, teachings and learnings. So for me, I just don't want to show up being all, fluff and rainbows.
Yeah, because it's easy to do it all when it's easy. So when life is like just bobbing along, it is easy to show up and do all of the things. But when life's stressful, when you're not feeling well, when stuff's difficult, that is when it's harder, and it's also when you need it. But it is, like you say, it's being able to kind of yeah, like the Instagram, like so many thoughts in my head. Like you say though, it is this whole, like I've seen stuff like spiritual people don't swear. Well, I would describe myself as a spiritual.
Oh
I
wow,
swear like a pirate. One of my
me
favorite
too.
mantras is
Same.
like I'm one of my phrases for life. You know, I am like love and light, but I'm also F this
Yeah.
shiz kebab. Like, you know, it's because that kind of gives the impression that you shouldn't have boundaries, almost like to be a spiritual being, you have to have no boundaries. And like, no, absolutely not. Like, it is so important that we're having these kind of conversations where it is a fully rounded person. You're not just forever like, I send you with love and light. Sometimes stuff is annoying, but we kind of know it's about, like you say, that observation, that understanding of self, and being able to know that, okay, this is what is going on for me in this situation, that I feel this anger in it, and being able to identify, this is where actually I don't need to be around this person, or I need to do some work, or whatever it is. It's a full spectrum of the human experience, not just burning some incense and being nice to everyone in person, and not nice and not very nice about it when you're not around them because no one can bear witness.
Yeah, I think when I first started in this industry, I did follow a lot of the sort of spiritual gurus, should we say, and I felt that I had to show up the same or have their jargon, should we say. But I'm just like, do you know what, I speak as I speak, you know, what you see is what you get. And I'm many a thing. I'm not just a spiritual mentor. I'm not just a mum. I'm not just a wife. I'm many a thing. Do you know that song? I won't. It's just, yeah. Anyway, you know the song. I don't know what I can
as
say.
As long as we don't sing it, as long as we say,
oh yeah,
you can swear. That's fine because there's a box I can take.
Oh,
anyway.
What is that song where she says she's many a thing? Where she says like, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother. Well, that's me.
Is that Alanis Morissette?
I think she did a version of it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's us as women.
Yeah.
Like we are everything. And sometimes all in the space of a few minutes, I can be all of those things. I love that song.
Yeah, but there's something so powerful when you can own that, and when you can actually be, because that to me is part of the unlearning and the becoming who you are. When you can actually be like, do you know what? Yeah, I am a bitch. Sometimes I am a bitch, and sometimes I am the kindest, beautiful person in the world. Like, there's something in matching energy. Like, sometimes you will be perceived as a bitch just because, I'm very sweary today, I'm on one now.
I love it.
just because you have boundaries, and because you're not prepared to put up with behaviors that are not okay to be around, or not do things that are not like aligned with you or in your best interest. Because like, as a woman who's confident, as a woman who speaks, as a woman who shows up and advocates for themselves, that bitch label can get thrown around. Whereas if you maybe weren't a woman, you would be seen as a strong person or a confident person. I don't know, you might not agree with me, but I think like there's something in claiming all of those parts of who you are and knowing that they exist, and that the shadow work, the part of yourself that might be the bit that you don't necessarily like about yourself, or that you don't necessarily want people to see. Denying that it exists doesn't make it not exist. It makes it much harder to be present with yourself and work on the things that you want to work on. Because if you deny its existence, then you can't work with it, can you? And heal what needs to be healed.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, like I said, I'm many a thing, and I was so worried to show up in a certain way on social media, but now I get to the point where I'd never ever have intentions to hurt another living soul. That's just not who I am. But equally, I don't want to sort of pussyfoot around, and turn up in a certain. The thing is with social media as well, we only see a very small percentage, don't we, of someone's life or what we perceive it to be, and it's not always the way as well, is it? So yeah, I'm just gonna just turn up as me and just see what happens.
That's what you can do, really, because then the people that need to hear what you're talking about, the people that you will resonate with, the people that then want to come and work with you, know what they're getting, like, because they see who you are. And I think that's, as you say, it's not about trying to hurt other people or being harmful or toxic in your behaviors. It is just knowing who you are in that moment and sharing your truth of that moment. And I'm sure being accountable for the things that you say, if you realize that what you've said or the way you've said something is not what you meant, or you know what I mean, it's that, because I think that's can be one of the hard things about social media, because people read your opinions and they take their own lens of what they experience and see it. Like, you can only be who you are, and
Yeah,
why would you want to be someone else?
absolutely. Yeah, I've spent a long time not being who I
Yeah.
was. So I'm embracing it, completely embracing it.
And so how is that changing for you? Being able to show up as you are, being able to be who you are, how is that changing the way in which you are, like, in the world?
It's free, it's freedom. It feels free because it, you know, if I'm constantly what I was before, worrying about what I said, how I showed up, you know, did I smile enough? Did I speak to that person enough? Like, it would go over and over in my head. I always know that I have beautiful, pure intentions to the world, and I want to leave the world a better place than what I found it. And that's all I need to know. And I know that in my core, I don't need to go around proving myself to anybody else. The right people will, like you said, they will resonate, they will listen with me, and the other people who don't choose to like me for whatever reason, even if it's just because they don't like the way I look or my accent or anything, that's absolutely fine. I'm not responsible for what other people think of me.
Yeah. And that's the truth of it. You're not responsible for what other people think of you. And there is power in that once you're able to kind of be who you are. And it does help your communities, because it, like you say, it allows them to be like, oh, okay, I can be who I am. I'm very aware I'm a Marmite person. You either love me or you really don't like me. And the more me I am, the more I'm that way. I'm sure I can say that. You know, there are other products available. But I think there's something in the more you are who you are, that kind of happens, because not everybody is at that stage in their journey, and they're not ready to be around that, or you're just not that person, and that's okay, because there's so many other people out there that you can be around that are your people.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
guess it would be good to ask you, if somebody feels like they are your person, how do they get hold of you?
So yeah, so I am on social media. I'm on Facebook. I've got a Facebook free community group called Spiritual Sisters Collective, which is going to have a bit of a shake up soon with what I'm going to be doing there. And I am on Instagram, although I don't use that very often, but as Lisa Williams Spiritual Mentor.
And I'll put your links will be in the show notes as well. Is there anything else that you want to share with us? Is there anything else that you feel is important of your story, or that you want to leave people with? I'm not entirely sure where we are with time, so we can just keep talking. We don't have to finish yet.
I would just say to anyone listening, any woman listening, just be yourself, and you can't go wrong. Just totally be yourself, and the right people will stay and the other people will fall away, and it's okay.
I love that. And I don't really have anything else to add to that, because I think that is perfect as it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to those that have listened. I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.